Hello, it's Sunday, the 19th of April. I'm AD Hobbs, and this is my review of the movie Time Bandits, which was released in 1981. And I do have some visual aid this time, but I'll start at the very beginning. But first of all, one of my nephews, he said he wanted me to do a review of Time Bandits, and I asked him why did he personally like the film, and he simply said he likes time travel a lot. So yeah, that's fair enough. And there's a lot of jokes, a lot of humour. It's a humorous story, a comedy adventure with a lot of time travel in it. So yeah, a lot of fantasy or sci-fi elements in it as well. And it doesn't make a lot of sense the first time you see it. It's a lot to take in. It's very bizarre. But you'll never forget it. It sticks out. It's unlike any other film you've ever seen, yeah. But it makes sense when you need to adapt to this new style of storytelling, yeah. And it is, you could say, quite Pythonic, because it has half the Monty Python cast, and it's quite surreal humour sometimes, yeah. Well, I first saw Time Bandits when I was 8 years old, and I'd never heard of it, knew nothing about it, and I thought it was absolutely amazing, really cool. It was like the definitive adventure story, yeah. And, some visual aid here we are. Here we have it. Oh, and by the way, there might be some spoilers in this review, so if you haven't seen the film, see the film first. Anyway, this is a video. Yes, very old-fashioned. It's not from the 80s. No, it's a 90s video, but it's an 80s film. There we have the ship. They're on their way. That's the fortress of ultimate darkness. They're on their way to. And in the sky, these black squares, they're the time holes. Now, when you go through a time hole, it's on the ground. But when you fall out of one, it's it's in the sky. So when you want to enter a different time period, you go through the ground. But when you arrive there, when the journey's over, it opens in the and you get there in less than a minute. You know, really quickly. Oh, and it gets even better. Here's the visual aid, the video case with the ship on top of the giant's head, and then inside a little postcard, which is the exact same image. But okay, if you want more, there's more. Yeah, and Time Bandits, hang on, here's a little character here. Little Minotaur there. When's it my turn to come in? What's the significance of him? Well, I'll explain why in a minute. And, it's, Time Bandits, I give it 10 out of 10 for unpredictability. There is no way of knowing what on earth is going to happen next. And yet, at first viewing, you think all these events don't connect together. It's just a load of random stuff that happens in no particular order. But apparently no, that's not the case. They are all connected. However unrelated they might seem, all the events are connected together. Okay, the story concerns a boy called Kevin. A medieval knight smashes through his wardrobe, and then the wardrobe suddenly is intact again, and the medieval knight's disappeared. Now he doesn't know this, of course. It's because there's a time hole in his wardrobe. Then the 6 dwarfs that are on the run from God, that they come out of the wardrobe. Well, they don't precisely kidnap him, but they run away to get through a different time hole, and he runs away with them because he's frightened of this big glowing light, and it's the face of God who's very angry at them for stealing his map. Now, in most time travel stories, we have a time machine, you know, a kind of vehicle or machine that you can control to go through time. But in Time Bandits, it's different. They don't have any control over the time travel. No, it's time holes or wormholes. They're like these black oblong squares or rectangles, and you go through them, but you don't control where they end up, no. But they have the map. The map is like a guide that tells them where each time hole ends up. One of them ends up in 1796, one of them ends up in the Middle Ages, another one ends up in the time of the ancient Greeks, another one ends up in the time of legends. Now, of course, you know, the boy Kevin says there's no such thing as the time of legends. There's no such place. But there is. This is a map of... It can lead anywhere in the universe, you know. And, like, there's a bit when the boy says, can we really go anywhere? He goes, yeah, you can go anywhere. If it's down here, if it exists, yeah. You can go anywhere that these time holes lead, yeah. And, the title of the film, Time Bandits, as it suggests, it's 6 dwarfs. They use the time-travelling mechanism for devious means. They use it to commit crimes, for robbery. because they've all recently lost their jobs, so they've turned to crime. Yeah, and oh yes, I better explain the significance of this. In one part, we end up in the time of the ancient Greeks, and King Agamemnon is fighting a Minotaur. Yeah. Now, as I said, when I first saw the film, I was 8 years old, and I just happened to be playing with this particular toy. It's not Time Bandits merchandise, no. It's like a warrior with the head of a bull. And then, as if on cue, a Minotaur appears on the screen. I thought, oh wow, what a handy coincidence. Yeah, okay. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Is he a good Minotaur? Well, check out this one here. Yeah. Is that a better Minotaur for you? You can biff and bash everything. Even if you've never heard of the Minotaur, the image is quite scary. Yeah, suddenly, out of nowhere, this scary man with the head of a bull appears in the story. Yeah, and the Monty Python TV show, they would suddenly, split second go to the next sketch. Sometimes discreetly, sometimes indiscreetly, but always fast. And in the same way, Time Bandits, how do they quickly get from the next comedy bit to the next bit? Well, with the time holes. That's how they instantly end up somewhere else. Yeah. And Time Bandits is like a fairy tale. Yes, clearly Terry Gilliam and Michael Palin, it's their tribute to like the classic fairy tales. There's a bit where in the forest, that's like a tribute to Grimm's fairy tales that always take part in the scary forest and stuff. But every now and again there's a joke that's inappropriate in a fairy tale, like a bit when a man has his arm ripped off. And you can't make a joke about that in a fairy tale. Yeah, so Time Bandits is a fairy tale, but with very dry humour. Not what you'd expect, so it catches you off guard. A lot of great humorous elements in it, yes. And at first glance, yes, you just think Time Bandits, you just switch your brain off for a couple of hours, and it's just a load of amiable nonsense. However, there's also some satirical, some quite political points in it as well. Well, here's an example. In the opening sequence, we see Kevin's mum and dad are obsessed with white goods. The latest cooker, or the latest blender, or the latest toaster, They're complete materialists, and they're, these things that will make their lives better forever. They love consumer products. Whereas their son Kevin, he's more literate. He likes classic heroes from literature, so a bit more appreciative of things that matter, And, oh yes, when accidentally Kevin ends up in the time of the ancient Greeks, and he actually prefers it to his own time period, so he wants to stay there, yeah. And he's a bit annoyed when the Time Bandits rescue him, because he doesn't want rescuing, And he goes, oh, what is this thing that you wanted to show me that's so important? And they say, the most fabulous object in the world. So after lots of obstacles, they finally get to the Fortress of Ultimate Darkness. What is the most fabulous object in the world? It's a designer kitchen. And the boy is unimpressed. He goes, that's not the most fabulous thing in the universe. That's rubbish. That's stupid. No. But the Time Bandits, they think it's amazing. But then, what is the most fabulous object in the world? We're all different. We'll have different views, It's all a matter of opinion, isn't it? What's wonderful to one person isn't so wonderful to someone else. One man's rubbish is another man's treasure, It's all, it's all debatable, yeah. His idea of heaven was time of the ancient Greeks. Their idea of heaven is a designer kitchen. And there's a horrible ogre in the story, but his idea of heaven is that the pain in his back will stop. Yeah, so yes. Everyone has a different view of what's heaven and what isn't, yeah. And, hang on, you can do a bit of running here, this silly Minotaur. Why is he running? Because I'm going to talk about running gags. Yes, there are some running gags in the story. One example of a running gag is Terry Gilliam. He wanted to deflate historical figures. Well, not literally, obviously. No, metaphorically deflate them. We have Napoleon, who's well respected, throughout history, but we see him as a bit of a buffoon, And we see Robin Hood. Yes, Robin Hood seen as a bit of a buffoon, because it's clear he knows little or nothing about poverty and how to sort the problem out. And Agamemnon, not deflated so much, no, just there's a bit when he does magic tricks and the boy's like, you're supposed to be a great warrior, kings aren't meant to do silly magic tricks, We see God deflated, yes, the God, well they don't call him God, they call him the Supreme Being. He's deflated because he could have rescued them from a whole load of, he could have stopped all these people being killed by the devil, but he waits for the devil to destroy them all, and then eventually killed him. Why didn't he rescue them sooner? Why did he allow that to happen? Why did he let all those people die? To test his creation. That's why. So, the all-powerful Supreme Being, the Almighty God, he may be all-powerful, but in this story sometimes he's a bit of a fool, a bit of a creep for doing that, really. Why didn't he rescue those people soon? Yes, so again, God is deflated, and the devil is deflated a bit. Yes, so everyone's deflated. They don't call him the devil, they just call him evil. Basically, his plan is to destroy the world and the universe, then recreate it, so that he can replace God as the Supreme Being and be like the new Supreme. He'll be omnipresent. Now he wants to destroy the universe and then recreate it with lots of technology. He wants everything to be controlled with technology. He thinks that's the way, that's the future. But there's a bit when it's clear he knows little or nothing about technology, and he has to see in his magic pool. He has to learn. Tell me about computers. Tell me about reactors. All this stuff, So yes, all the characters are sort of humanised, if you like. They have human weaknesses. They can make mistakes. Nobody's perfect, So yes, that's like a running gag through the story. And so point out at the very end of the story, Randall, the chief of the dwarfs, he thinks we found the most fabulous object in the world because it's on the map. But it turns out, no, he's wrong. There is something there. But it's not the most fabulous object in the world. No, it's a time hole. But instead of going to one place, it goes to a number of different places. Like the time of cowboys, futuristic spaceships, knights in shining armour, and they all attack at the very end. But there are toys of all those different things I've just said on the floor in Kevin's bedroom. Yeah. So there's some sort of strange connection between his bedroom and the Fortress of Ultimate Darkness at the final showdown. So all these events are connected somehow. So it's quite clever the way it does that. And, the reason this cover is a bit of a spoiler here is because there's a ship on top of a giant's head. It's his hat. They don't know that in the story. It becomes a big shock when they find out, yeah. And, so there's silly humour, sort of slapstick humour. And there's some political, satirical humour in it as well. So there's something for everyone. Something for the kids, something for grown-ups as well. I don't think I'd recommend anyone under 8 seeing this, or under 7, because yes, there are some bits a bit scary for kids, like the ogre, and the way evil blows someone to bits if they say the slightest thing to annoy him. Yes, that's a bit grim for very little kids, yeah. And, I think, back to the thing I said about satirical humour, capitalism, that's the word I'm looking for, yes. We clearly see that Kevin's parents are pure capitalists, yeah. And when there's a fire, because like every great classic fairy tale, the hero ventures off on great adventures. He goes to faraway lands, places he's never seen before, time periods he's never seen before, and then eventually ends up home. But sadly, home is on fire, And a fireman manages to get the boy out just in time. He doesn't stop to save any of his toys, any of his possessions. Just get him out fast, because a human life is more important than possessions. And while that's going on, the fire is under control, more or less under control. Kevin's parents want to go back in the house. I want to get my deluxe blender. I want to get my state-of-the-art toaster. Yes, pure capitalism. Now, there's nothing wrong with capitalism. Nothing wrong with the desire for money. But when it makes you lose track of what's really important to you, then yes, that's a bit controversial. It gets out of hand. It's a bit like, well, speaking from experience, there's this lady I used to know. She wasn't my girlfriend, we were good friends. But anyway, I said to her, do you want to walk the dogs with me? And she said no. Do you want to go for a bike ride with me? She said no. Do you want to just go for a walk in the forest? I said no. She said she wants to do these other things that are much more fun. Like going out clubbing, shopping, buying lots of great things, buying a new car and all this stuff and everything. And I said to her, you want to have fun, you want to do things that are fun, that's fine. Why is it everything you do that's fun costs lots of money? There's nothing you do for fun that costs little or no money. It's got to be stuff that costs lots of money. That's a bit creepy, that's a bit weird, that you're so dependent on consumer products you can't live without them, yeah. So in other words, there's nothing wrong with spending money on consumer products, but when you get too obsessive, it's a bit silly. And you can have fun. There are ways to have fun that cost little or no money. So, yeah. yes, that issue is raised a lot in Time Bandits. There's the obsession for money, you know. And, okay. So, yes, some silly, one-dimensional slapstick humour and more depth humour. Yeah, so when you see it a few times, you realise there's a bit more to it. There's a more serious political message. The obsession for money can get out of hand when it makes you lose track of people you love and things that are more important. And, oh yes, one last running gag. Yeah, it's his turn now to do some running. Anyway, one other running gag is the Time Bandits. Although they say they're experts at this sort of thing, it's clear they don't know their history. They're time travellers, but they don't know their history. They're really surprised when Robin Hood gives a load of stolen money to the poor. They're really surprised he does that. They're on the Titanic, which gets smashed and sinks, and they all blame the leader, Randall. It's all your fault, and he says, "How was I supposed to know we were going to hit an iceberg?" It's the Titanic. How can you not know that? And a good joke is he says, just before they hit the iceberg, he says to the waiter, "Waiter, more champagne and plenty of ice." Well, you've hit an iceberg. Is that enough ice for you? Okay, let's wrap this up. Time Bandits there's a lot to it. Very unpredictable, but a lot of fun. A great thrill ride story, and yes, lots of good jokes. It takes a while for your mind to adapt to it, but once it does, you really enjoy it. So if you haven't seen Time Bandits, well, see it as fast as you can. Okay, that's enough from me, and the song at the end is great as well. It was sung by George Harrison, and it goes, "Ora-yin-ya-ya, ora-yin-ya-ya." I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but I'm guessing "Ora-yin-ya-ya" means everyone's having fun, everyone's having a great adventure. Yeah, so, yeah. Anything can happen, yeah. Okay, so, to cut a long story short, Time Bandits is a great movie.